Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Thank you for listening to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I welcome you to this new episode. This week, my guest is EDolenz, and she runs the Etsy shop EDolenz Photos. Emily, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So before we start, can I just have you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I was born and raised in England, but I've been in the United States on the East Coast for 12 years now. It's a very long time. And I've been an artist since I was a teenager, and picked up photography in about 2009, I think, is when I started really doing it kind of as to sell my art. Mm-hmm. So I have collage art, but I also have my main thing is photography. Other than that part, which we'll obviously talk about in a little bit, I have, I do gardening and have a little home life here in on the East Coast, and I love to garden. And I try and just put art into art is basically in every facet of my life, whether it be cooking or gardening or Etsy store.
Yeah.
It's basically me.
Okay, so now I'm curious, how did you get into photography? Did you buy a camera? Were you given one, or did you decide you wanted to take up a new hobby?
Well, a little bit of all of it. I had a film camera when I was in college, and I have cerebral palsy, so my dad saw that I had a great eye for photography, but because of the bigness or largeness of cameras back then, I was taking the left side of the photograph because of the way I had to hold it with one hand.
Oh, right.
So I liked the medium, but I was getting frustrated with the tools because I was struggling using it. So on my 20th birthday, my dad gave me the digital point and shoot, which was when it was released. It was just that time of year or that time in life when the digital point and shoot came out. And from that moment, the technology matched my skill for it, I guess, or my love for it.
Yeah.
And it just took off from there. And I just never looked back, and photography became my main medium of art.
Oh, wow.
And I think I fell in love with the immediacy. I'm very impatient in general as an artist. So I really liked being able to see it and then just being like, no, delete, and then do it again. And it was just, I just couldn't put my camera down. I just loved it.
Yeah.
Really liked it.
So you have a natural eye for photography. Did you teach yourself the ins and outs of how to use the camera, or is it just, do you go more just based on your own creative vision?
So I self-taught myself to a certain extent about composition things. Okay. I did do a 1-year course at a school, like a technical school here in Maryland, that helped me learn about what aperture was and what focal point and all of that things, those things were. But because of my disability, I tend not to use the buttons in the camera at the time I shoot. I tend to do a lot of my exposure stuff in Lightroom because of the physical struggle it is to do the changing of the buttons while you're taking a photograph in the moment, out in the field. So I get the framing right and the composition right and the general exposure that I need. But because technology is so great, it allows someone like me to then do some of the post-production things in the computer.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful. But I did get some technical schooling, I guess, to know what aperture was and all of that stuff, the basis. But otherwise, I just have fun going out and playing with my camera and seeing what happens.
Yeah, that's great. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what Lightroom is a photo editing software from Adobe. I have that correct? Yeah. And so you can take your pictures and then go into this software program and do some editing and just get even more creative with the pictures that you've taken.
Absolutely. And it's definitely it's a little easier than Photoshop. It does a lot, but it's a little bit more basic and a little bit more user friendly, so that you don't have to know an extensive amount of like a lot of in-depth editing skills and tools.
Okay.
If you're just doing a family photograph or you're doing little tiny adjustments, Lightroom is spectacular.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask, okay, what's the learning curve? Every time I hear about or come across an Adobe product, my heart stops for just a minute, because I think, oh, great. Now I'm going to have to, spend, a week or two trying to learn how to use the software before I can actually do anything constructive. So it's good to know that the learning curve for Lightroom is not that steep.
No, well, I mean, I think there probably is some more things you can learn from it, but I think it's a definite user-friendly platform to do quite a lot of things that maybe the Etsy seller or the me's of the world or the general people here can use it. And I also think it's really good if you are uploading photos of your products or your site, your artwork. Lightroom would be really good at getting the lighting right for any products on Etsy.
Okay.
Which I think is very important.
Did you use the Adobe tutorials to get up and running, or was that part of what was covered in the course that you took?
I took some courses on how to use Photoshop, so I've been doing Photoshop and things like that for years.
Okay.
So Adobe Lightroom, I haven't taken a course on Adobe Lightroom, but because I know Photoshop and I know the kind of general premise of the platform, I've again kind of self-taught myself, used YouTube videos if I had a question about a certain thing I was trying. But I try not to do a lot of editing of my photographs anyway. So I only need to use some of the more basic features anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, I haven't taken any professional schooling for that.
Okay, cool. Now, how would you describe yourself, Emily? Would you say you're more of an artist, or do you consider yourself a photographer? I know you do more than just photography, though, because you sell more than just photography. Interestingly,
I've kind of branded myself as called this inspirational artist.
Yeah.
And then I'm a photographer and I'm a poet, I guess, is what I would kind of class. Those three terms would sum me up right now. Because I have branched out in modern photography. I do the collage art pieces. I have dry erase boards that I create. But the inspirational artist sounds corny per se a little bit if you don't know the backstory. But a lot of my work now has become telling my story about my disability and being an artist, and doing a blog as well, which we'll get to, I guess. But it's all of my photography and all of my art, I want to inspire people. It's not that I'm putting inspiring words on my photography, but I have a lot of message behind it of, if I can take a photograph with my disability, then you can go out and conquer whatever your dream is with your disability. And so I try and use my art skills and my art in general to motivate other people who might not think it's possible.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I love about doing it.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I do want to talk about that just a little bit. I don't want us to rush past that.
Sure.
You do have a blog. It's edolenz.wordpress.com. I'm going to link to that in the show notes for this episode for anyone who wants to check that out. And
Thanks.
So you've been writing on this blog since it looks like earlier this year that you started the blog. And you use it exactly what you described. What was the inspiration behind actually deciding to start writing and sharing about being an artist with a disability and just what you're doing right now?
Well, I was combining originally my poetry with my photographs on like the Facebook platform. And people were really responding to me putting my words to my photographs. And not a lot of people that are fans of my art realize that I have a disability, because obviously they're not seeing me in person a lot of the time. And they're quite surprised by it. And what I found was, by doing a little tester kind of things, is that people were like very shocked by me having a disability, but also wanting to know what it was like to have a disability with art. And then they kept saying, well, oh wow, you did that today, so I thought I would have a go at something. And so I decided that I needed to be brave and open up and what I found is that we're all kind of hiding from telling the bad parts of our lives to people. There's so much out there about like, oh, I'm having a great day. My disability is pretty hidden. I mean, I have cerebral palsy, which is it can be very extensive. Mine is not. Mine is quite a mild case. So people don't notice it. But what I've learned from that is that you could also have cancer or a heart condition, or your mother just died last week. And those are things that no one can notice on the surface. So we all need to be considerate that somebody else might have something going on that you don't know. So for instance, why I kind of also started it was, if people are saying, well, Emily's, got a great life, she's got an artist, why is she crying today? She's got the Etsy store, she's doing really well. Well, you don't know though that I'm struggling using my camera with my disability. So if I want people to empathize with maybe why I'm a little bit struggling with something to do with my art, then I should be brave enough to tell them. And then they're brave enough to tell me something which we can all help. And I think in 2017, we need to come together a bit more and, help each other out, realize we're all in the same kind of boat as each other. And that's what I've tapped into. I think people are really enjoying tapping into the kind of, we're all in the same thing together. Not everyone has cerebral palsy, but everyone is going through something
right,
that they would like somebody to say it will be okay, or, go on, you can try it. And and I think that's very important today in today's world. I think
you're so right. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, fine.
Because one of the reasons I got tired of, quote, hanging out on Facebook was because if you hang out there long enough, you start to believe that, or you start to think that everybody's life is, one big glamorous vacation. And every once in a while, you'll find an honest post. Somebody will write a post about something that makes you really just stop and react to it. And by react, I don't mean using one of the emojis to react. I mean like
no, actually feel something.
Yes, exactly. Actually really feeling something. And so moving to a blog where you're writing, I'm so impressed because there's so much dialogue going on your blog. People are responding to what you're writing. I see the comments. People, jump on there and react and respond to what you're putting out there. And I agree. I think it's because so many of us don't want to talk about the things that aren't so glamorous or don't look, in our eyes, don't seem to look like the picture that the world wants to see of us. And so when you hear someone who is actually talking about the things in their life that aren't perfect, the things in their life that aren't poster board worthy, but they're being real, it's so much easier to connect with them, because I think for the most part, all of us have lives that are not poster board worthy. Not that we're doing deep, dark, horrible things, but, our lives aren't TV commercials. And so when you see someone who is actually talking about living, a non-TV commercial life, it's so much easier to relate to them. And I think that's why your blog, even though it's so young, I mean, people are engaging, which is fantastic. You can talk to 10 new bloggers, and the one thing they'll say is, I want people to come and comment on my blog, but in your case, I think because you're talking about something that's so relevant and meaningful, it's different.
Well, and I also try, and not every single time I do a blog, but I try and ask the questions back to the audience too as well. Like, it's fine to hear my sob story of the day. And I say that in a good way. But then if I ask them, so what do you want to do now? And then it invites them back to the conversation, because I don't want it to turn into just me pushing my stuff onto the world. The reason I want to talk about it is that, therefore, if you have a question about cerebral palsy, or you have a friend of a friend that has someone with a child maybe, or a person that that has Down syndrome or something, we should talk about that. We shouldn't just make and I think that in this world that I live in, disability especially is classed as something that you're not supposed to talk at. You're not supposed to mention that they're in a wheelchair. They're not supposed to. You're supposed to ignore it and pretend. And like, you can't pretend that I'm shaking my hand right now and you don't notice that my hand is crippling. It's obvious. So why don't we just say it? I have cerebral palsy. Does it matter? No. Let's go on now and have a conversation. But especially with my disability, I have had a lot of trouble with people saying, well, at least you're not in a wheelchair. At least you don't have it, a real bad. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still allowed to cry sometimes, and I'm still allowed to feel upset. So whether you're losing weight or whether you're, yes, we could all be, dying of famine, I guess. If you're in America, you could all say we could all be in somewhere else in a war zone. You have to be allowed to feel sad about the things you're sad in life. And then you need to get up and you need to realize that it could be worse. Therefore, you can pick yourself up again. Yeah. But I'm really happy that I've started a conversation off with some other people, and other people are finding inspiration to, do whatever they need to do in their lives.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm glad that people are enjoying my blog.
Now, what's your blogging schedule? Do you try to write every day, or once a week, or every other week, or do you just write as you feel led?
I made myself have a bit of schedule, but I asked my audience, first of all, on Facebook, because that's where most of my my followers are, kind of what kind of schedule they would like, day or night, or in the middle of the day, or once a week. It became pretty obvious to me that if I wanted to make a good piece, I'm not going to be able to do more than once a week, because it's just, I want to make my content good. And I chose Monday in general. It doesn't matter what time of day. Monday it gets posted, because that's what most people said, that, it's a Monday. Oh, great. The work is, weekend's over, start work again, not following my dreams. Oh, and then there's Emily's like, no, come on, let's make this week the best week. Yeah. So I figured it kind of worked for Mondays.
Okay. Now, why did you pick WordPress.com as opposed to, say, Blogger or Squarespace, or even your own self-hosted WordPress website?
I did a little bit of research, but I wanted a free blog site, because I didn't know where it was going to go. So I didn't want to pay for any website of my own or anything like that. And I had my sister do a WordPress, and I had a couple other friends do WordPress. And so I decided to not, in a way, not think it through too much and do 6 months of agonizing, like, duh. So I thought if it came down to my blog is not going to fail just because of the site I use.
Yeah.
It's what you put on it. So I in a way went eeny, meeny, miny, mo. But I'm so pleased with WordPress, and it's very user friendly and everything. So I went for the more simple one, I guess, and from my own friends and family's feedback.
Okay. And I have a more technical question as far as WordPress.com goes, because I know on the podcast we talk about, having your own blog or your own space on the internet, where you can do your things. I know WordPress has what they call Jetpack, where you can get all these additional tools to do more creative things with your blog. do you just have just a simple WordPress site, or do you use the Jetpack feature with all the, bells and whistles that come with it?
No, I have the simplest sign up and start your blog.
Okay.
And I might learn further down the road to expand on that, but I wanted to start out slowly. I wanted to make sure that at least I got down the writing part and making it not too fancy at the start. I wanted to make sure it's just a simple layout, and then, the writing. I like you said, I've only just started it, so I'm not sure that I could probably look back into it and expand into the Jetpack, as you say, a little later on, but I'm still trying to grow the fundamental part. And I think that's the same way with my Etsy store. I prefer kind of starting out very small and really making the content amazing, and then expanding slowly, because I think if you put bells and whistles and everything at first, you miss sometimes the part. So that's the way I do it.
Okay, I completely agree. I like the layout. It's very simple. It's like it makes you focus on the words, and I like that.
Right.
Yeah, but I see you also are able to link to like your Etsy shop and your Society 6 store and Amazon, which we're going to get to shortly. Okay, so in fact, let's circle back to Etsy. So so you started off on Facebook, and people saw your art there.
Yes.
Why did you eventually move over to Etsy?
Because I had a website on my own to sell from, and I built it with Dreamworkers or something. When you write HTML, and it was a mess.
Oh my goodness! You know how to use that?
No, I don't. Okay. That's the point. It was a mess. This was like 10 years ago. But Etsy I came across because I liked how it was, strictly for handmade things. It wasn't an eBay store, or, it was very artsy, and especially when it was really new, or not new, I guess, but new to me. It felt very me. It felt the storefronts, the way it was user friendly. I really just gravitated towards it. So I decided to open up more of a storefront, and I also liked the fact that yes, Etsy charges you the 20 cents to list and the fees to take it out, but it also was a bit more cost effective than paying for my domain name and my shopping cart on a website that I would build myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute perfect sense.
So I did it for financial reasons, and also I just fell in love with the platform of Etsy.
Okay.
And I decided to try it and then see where it went. And I love it.
So was that back in 2012, or did you first come on as a buyer and then open your store after?
I think I don't actually remember the exact year, but I definitely knew about Etsy as a buyer and looker, or shop windower. Window shopper, sorry. But beforehand, but I did open up my actual store, I think in 2012.
Okay. All right. So do you remember when you first opened your shop? It sounds like you were already selling, so that there wasn't any reservation there. How long do you recall it taking before you got your first sale?
A little while, but because I had to kind of direct people there. But as you said, I had by that time quite a few people that knew that I did sell my photos. So I think it might have been like 2012 that I did sell something. In that first year, I definitely sold pieces. Without looking at my actual financial background, I won't know exactly when it is. But like you said, because I already had some of the base audience, it wasn't that long. I did need to make sure people knew to go there first. So it did take me a little while to kind of say, hey, everybody that I know, come this way. Don't go, also don't Google searches, and don't go back to my website now. Go to my Etsy store. So I had a little bit of effort to redirect people away from my website that I had, and now to go to Etsy.
Does that website still exist today?
I don't think so. I think if you do emilydolenz.com, it probably comes up, but I did change the homepage to say go to Etsy. So all you would ever see would be welcome to Emily Dolenz. Please now go find me on Etsy or something to that effect.
Okay. Now, so your Etsy shop, when you opened it, and compared with today, has the goal and the purpose for it changed? Do you see it more now as a financial, not investment per se, but do you want it to become more than just a place to share your what you create? And are you looking to make it more of a business now?
Yes. I recently just quit my day job to do this full time.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I am, I recently got married and I recently...
Oh, congratulations again.
Thank you. But with that, with all of the life changes I've gone through, it is a time in my life that I could possibly focus on generating a much more substantial revenue from it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'd love to do this, podcast, and I'm focusing on more of the marketing end because I know that people have bought my work. So I'm not, apart from making new work, I now need to focus on the marketing end of things. But yes, I mean, from when it was starting, I was working full time, and it was nice if somebody bought something every 6 months, and it's fun and great, yay. But I would love it now to really become something that I can count on something coming in every month. That would be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it has developed into something that I'd like to become more of a full-time revenue.
Okay. And that's great because I think a lot of people have that goal. So to that end, what do your days now look like since now you're a full-time entrepreneur, but you have other things going on, obviously,
yes,
with, all these life changes. What does your day typically look like? Where does running your business fit into that? And how do you manage your time?
Well, I wake up smiling, first of all, because I have a really fun life. But mostly I wake up and take care of, I guess, a little bit of my house. And I have pets and fish and frogs and dogs and stuff. So I have to take care of them first, obviously.
Yeah.
But I have a lovely art room in my house. And I don't call it an office. I call it an art room because I want to be creative. But I get... I wake up and do the essentials for my house. And then I literally go into my office and I will just, turn on my computer and see which kind of marketing things I need to do. And then I will go outside of the house, take any new photographs I've thought of. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of office time. And one of the things that my dad taught me at a young age, which I still now listen to, is putting a different hat on. So if you imagine... you talking about how I time manage and how I organize my time. Mm-hmm. Well, when I'm with my pets or with my husband or whether I'm doing something for my home, I imagine I put on a hat and it's like now I'm with the home area of my life. And then I put on my business hat to do marketing. And then I put on my creative hat for making my art. And what that really does, and how my dad explained it to me, is that while you're doing the one task you are doing, you put your heart and soul into that task and get it done properly. And rather than kind of thinking about, feeding my pets while I'm also trying to do a photograph, I'm also trying to be on Facebook, and you actually don't get anything done. Yeah. So I try and divide my time very definitely. Yeah. So when I'm in my art room, I spend 2 hours in my art room. Then I spend an hour with my pets and my home, and I get that stuff done. If I'm doing the laundry, I spend, that time doing that. And then I stop and I start doing my art things, because I find doing 3 things at once, you actually end up, not doing too much, actually not getting things done.
Yeah. Oh, completely agree. That's great advice. And I think especially so for those of us who are creative, because your mind is constantly going. You're constantly thinking of, if it's not some new design or something that you want to make or some new idea of something you want to do, it's something that you need to do that you're not doing right now, that, you know, you're trying to, you know, shelve at the back of your mind, you know, to get to that. And so I think that's
Exactly.
really good advice, just focusing. I know sometimes when I feel like I have so many things to do, it seems wise to multitask, but I'm so horrible at it. I don't do it well.
Well, I don't think it, and multitasking is fine if you're doing kind of the laundry, then the dishes, and then things like that, I guess. But when you're being creative, you really need to focus on that, or you need, because at the end of the day, it does help, and it makes you feel that you've completed something well.
Yeah.
And in the long run, when you're trying to set up a business, I think spending that time, you might as well to make sure you are doing it properly.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
So now, Emily, now that you're doing, you're pursuing growing your business on Etsy and becoming a full-time artist, has that changed your pricing philosophy on the products that you sell now that this is, you know, you're going to have to start relying, or you want to be able to rely on the income from this? And if not the pricing, if it hasn't had an impact on your pricing, has it had an impact on, say, your product lines, you know, maybe coming out with more things or coming out with, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand what you were trying to say. Okay. So yes, it has to some extent. I know about pricing. I'd love to think that I could sell every piece of my art for $500 a piece. It's just not going to happen. Like I said, I have had quite a large audience-ish for a while, so I do know what they spend on my art and what their their spending income is in general. I don't know, obviously, to be exact. Yeah. So I do want to I still want to stay true to wanting to share my work with the world. So I would rather have 15 sales a month at a smaller price than one sale of a larger price every 6 months, because I actually enjoy getting my work out there. Yeah. But the things that have changed about making it a really full-time position is making sure that the 3 or 4 types of art I put on Etsy are concise and really well packaged and well made. So for instance, my photography, I was selling originally with mats and bags and all this paraphernalia that made it so cumbersome to make. So I streamlined everything. So now it's simple and easy. It is the price range that I think works for my buyers that I have already, and is also inviting for other new people. But it's very tight. I looked at shipping costs. I looked at the bags that I have to pay for to be able to sell them. Yeah. So I looked more in detail about what I was selling and how I was selling it, and the prices and the cost of making the art as well. To make sure that the Etsy store was clean, concise, and well priced, I guess. Okay. For the market.
Do you have a high percentage of international sales, and how do you take that into consideration? Because I know when you decide to ship internationally, that's a whole different ball game.
Yes. So I do have a few international people that come to me. I don't have a large audience. Mostly Canada or England, and some other places in Europe as well. And I have sold to those places before, so I kind of relatively know what the shipping is. And I use a flat rate kind of shipping price, because I really, as a buyer and a consumer, I just like knowing that it's a flat rate, $5-10, and then be done with it. Yeah. And so I have done my research, and if anybody has asked me like, oh, do you ship to my country? And I say, oh, no, not yet, but I'll go onto Etsy and quickly add it, because Etsy makes that so simple. Yeah. So I don't do worldwide shipping because of the cost of shipping can vary so much. Okay. But I leave it to, again, the conversations with the audience that I have And I kind of try and advertise that if you don't see your country listed, I'm happy to add it. I'm happy to work out a pricing for your country to, for all the shipping and sometimes custom prices and things like that. Customs.
Okay.
So I leave it like that.
I like that. You wait till they ask, because I in the past I didn't think about that before. I thought you either do international shipping or you don't. If you do, you make your products available to everyone. But I like the idea of waiting for someone to reach out and ask, and then looking at the cost, and then you can decide if it's or have them decide, I guess, if it's worth it for them to pay whatever the shipping cost is to get that product.
Well, and I also looked into it, and I know a couple countries, the price of the shipping would be over the price of my product. Now, as a consumer, I wouldn't buy more. I wouldn't pay more shipping than the product itself.
Yeah.
That seems a bit silly. Yeah. And sometimes it's like 3 times as much. So I try and tell people, if you're interested, well, I can, but you're going to end up paying, 2 times as much as the actual product. So I don't want to do that to you. I'm really sorry. Or, because I would rather be honest. I'd rather not try, tell them up. I would rather tell them up front.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And I agree. And I'm sure buyers appreciate that too. Mm-hmm. Because I too, like you, if the shipping cost more than the product, it just would not compute for me.
Exactly. And I try and price my work accordingly. In the marketplace, architect's objectives, shipping is, one thing. I honestly am just trying to do what I think I would be comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm buying a photograph, it's an art print, it's 8x10, it comes in a little plastic bag, it comes with a little business card, it's also $5 shipping. I would buy that. So therefore, I'm comfortable with that. So maybe somebody else would. Exactly. I try and just base it off my own personal experiences, my own personal loves and likes of life.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful. Okay, so let's talk about promoting your Etsy shop. So you already have the blog. The blog is it's a creative outlet, but also a good place to promote what else you're doing and where else you sell. Do you do any type of other promotion, like on social media? And if so, where do you hang out the most, or which platform gives you the most return for the time you spend?
Facebook, my Facebook page has been running the longest, and I have a healthy kind of conversation going there with a lot of the followers. Mm-hmm. So that's where my real stable social media marketing tool is. Twitter then would be the second best, I guess. Okay. And I am really trying to get to know Instagram a lot better. Yeah. And each one I'm trying to use in the way that it's supposed to be used. So Instagram is a photograph with lots of hashtags. Twitter is a bit of a conversation with some hashtags. Mm-hmm. And then Facebook, I generally don't use the hashtags as much, and I ask a question back. So for example, if I do a photograph of a flower, Instagram would be the photograph with the hashtags. Twitter might be, hey, I took this photograph today, find it on my Etsy store, and then some hashtags. But on Facebook, I will say, I took a photo of this pink rose. It reminded me of my mum. And what flower reminds you of your mother? Happy Mother's Day. Like I have a bit more of a conversation on Facebook. And therefore you're tapping into the different types of social media that's out there. And you're engaging in different ways. Yeah. With different people.
Emily, you're doing it right.
I'm trying.
That's what all the the people who know about social media say. It's not, well, you can't just post it in one place and then just share the same thing over and over again, because every platform is different and you have to interact differently. But I'll be honest, I'm a lazy social media person. If I can get away with doing doing
Well,
the
I
same
think
thing at all.
honestly, you have things out there called like Hootsuite that does it for you.
Yeah.
But to me, I have in the last couple of weeks have seen a huge kind of boost of excitement over my marketingness of my work when I've used a different photo on Instagram and then the same one maybe on Twitter and Facebook, but I write it differently. When you make it more dynamic, I think that people see it in different ways. So maybe they've seen my post this morning on Facebook, but they turn on their Twitter and there's a different image, but it's still from me. And at the same kind of time, they're seeing two different images, two different wordings, and it pulls them back 2 times to my work.
So do you do it all manually, or do you use some type of automation tool?
Right now, because I have just made this my full-time job, I have the time in my day to do it all manually.
That's great.
But it is, that being said, if I go away for the weekend, I have that tool, and I use Hootsuite, and I have that tool to then be able to do Twitter and Facebook. As I know it, Instagram doesn't really hook into the same platform of automation.
Right.
But I mean, I know that there are tools out there. Let's say I do go away for the weekend that I can do it all automated, but I enjoy doing it manually. I think it connects me to my audience and it connects me to the marketing tools and helps me grow and learn it as well.
So do you make it a point to connect every single day, or do you have a schedule that you follow?
I at least try and do 3 posts daily, but I also, if one day I have 7 because a lot of fun stuff is going on in my life, I do 7. And then if I have, on a Sunday when it's Easter Sunday coming up, I'm with my family, so I'm not going to be posting 7 times. I might do a happy Easter and maybe 1 in the evening. But on some occasions, I will just post about my life, as in like a picture of my dog or the food, the creative food photos of my recipes that I may be making. So I don't always just buy my work from Etsy. I have a new photograph to buy. I mix up my types of posts as well, depending on my day, and the amount depending on the day. So for Easter, it just might be a purely simple, have a nice day, have a lovely Easter, go spend it with your family. I won't necessarily at all speak about my artwork on Easter Sunday because I want people to enjoy their Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
And again, that comes down to what I think I would like. I don't want to be hounded with marketing, for actual purchasing things on a holiday. So I try and work that stuff out in my head before I post, but I am quite consistent, and I keep the conversation going, and I do think it helps keeping that conversation open and going quite often, because you never know when somebody's going to see somebody at the office who goes, oh yeah, my sister's having a birthday. And then if you've just heard from me 2 minutes ago on all the platforms, oh wait, fresh in my mind, Emily Dolenz's art, it kind of keep them fresh. If you're doing it once a month, then you're missing all the opportunities, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're really doing it right. I mean, it's tedious. I'm sure it's not easy, but I think you're using social media the way you're supposed to, and hopefully you're able to continue to do that, especially as you grow and expand and things really start to pick up. But it's good that you also have some automation tools in your back pocket, and you're using that. What I really like about what you said is, I picked up on the fact that your automation tools have not taken over you socializing on social media. You use it as a tool. Right. And I think that the one thing is, yes, exactly, I do when I need it. But I do think that's the part that also I enjoy about doing my art, is connecting with people through my art. So if I just pressed a button once a week, then all week long, I don't get to speak to my followers. I don't get to engage in them. And that's the one thing I think that is crucial about having an Etsy store, having social media, is that I don't have a physical store that people can just roll into and I can talk in front of them.
So I think that it's important for me and exciting for me as an artist to be able to talk and communicate through social media about my art, about my disability, about the blog, rather than just, once a week posting automated posts. And I think people can tell when it's automated as well. I think it can feel a little bit automated.
Yes.
So I just try and keep it natural based, inspired by the moments I'm actually having.
Yeah.
And hopefully people react to it.
So now you're on Etsy, you're growing this to be what you do full time. What are some of the lessons that you're learning? And I shouldn't say that, that's kind of nebulous. Can you pick out maybe one or two important lessons so far that you feel that you're learning that somebody else who is just starting out and trying to take their Etsy venture full time might appreciate hearing about?
Sure. I think my best advice to someone starting out is to start slowly. And what I mean is not posting once a month. I mean that be realistic. Also dream high, but be realistic. So the first month, don't aim to make $1,000. You aim to make one sale. And then you feel really good about that sale and you can learn from how it went. And then you can up your next goal. The biggest thing I think when I first started was you get very overwhelmed with all the statistics and the people coming to see the dashboard, which tells you that like 2 people have come today. But you learn slowly. You might do one coupon code on one of the holidays and just see how it goes. But also listen to what you're already doing, or if you have any interest from people in your neighborhood, people down the street, and you have never sold your work before, I would just try and take a little bit of time to ask around and say, what do you think you'd buy my artwork for? Or, do a bit of that market research before, because setting yourself up before you really launch into Etsy could really help.
Yeah.
So you don't launch something that looks maybe messy, or you're not using the right tags. You don't know how to use the coupon codes. I think it can be really exciting to leap forward, and it's going to be your dream, and you're going to start this business, and isn't it going to be fantastic? But I think you should kind of really make a solid small store that's really thought out and good.
Yeah.
And people will appreciate that. And then the other major piece of advice I say is that when it is up and running, to make sure you're updating content, updating the cover photos, feature listings, and you frequently rotate them, because a fresh new storefront look makes it appeal to new buyers and people that have already come to your store last week. If it's stagnant and sitting there, it doesn't appeal to as many people, I think.
That's a good point, because now that you mentioned that, I'm thinking, oh man, it's been a few months since I switched out my featured listings. So that's actually a good point. I never really think of switching those. I'm just like, yeah, they're featured. That's why they're featured.
Right, but if you do, as soon as I flick 3 more up there or 4 more different ones, suddenly the store looks like there's new things, new different photographs or pieces of art being offered. So it does freshen up the store.
Yeah, no, I can see how that would happen. Now, one of the things you mentioned was coupon codes. Do you use coupon codes a lot, and how do you take advantage of those?
I use the thank you coupon code, which is as soon as somebody buys something from my store, they get emailed a thank you coupon, and you set what it is going to be, the 10% or a $5 off. So I use that one all year round, every year. Every customer gets that. And then I also use periodic sale coupons. So I create a coupon. So in May, I had one that was the Mother's Day, And this summer, I will hopefully I'm thinking of probably doing another summer sale. So I will create one, let's say, July 4th, or it might be an August sale one. And it's just a coupon that I give out to everybody, because coupons do go through your whole store.
Yeah.
Unless you give it to one person and say don't share it, but we all know people do share them. So I like to do general, 10% off or 25% off or $5 or free shipping because of a certain reason. And with coupon codes, I have found that if you do it for too long or too short, it can be damaging. So you don't want to do 2 days before your sale, because you don't give people time to shop and look around for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you leave them 3 or 4 weeks, they actually, don't want to press go and, on the sale.
Right, because it's always there.
It is always there.
It seems like, anyway.
Yes. And also, lastly, I think not having too many sales. So I will do one every maybe 3 months, if maybe 6 months I'll have a sale, because if you have coupon code after coupon code, people are just waiting to buy in the next sale.
Yes.
So you don't want to do, in my experience, you don't want to do too many sales. Okay. I think it's nice to have a sale for a purpose once in a while.
That's actually good advice, especially the part about not doing too many sales or using too many coupon codes back to back, because I confess, there's this website called Udemy. You learn different things. You can buy courses and learn how to do something, and they have coupon sales all the time. And so I feel like I game the system. I know I'm not gaming it. They're probably gaming me. But I'll go on there, and if I see a class I like, because they use cookies to track you and all this, so I'll go into the class, I'll look around, I'll click around in the class, and then I don't buy it. And then sure enough, in 2 days they send a coupon for that. They're like, oh, you were checking out this class, it's now on sale for $10, or it's now on sale for $15, because I know I don't have to buy it, because Udemy is going to give me a coupon if I don't buy it. So as a buyer, exactly. It works, but as a seller, especially when you're trying to grow a business that you want to be sustainable and to sustain you don't want to sell yourself that short. Udemy can do it because they're huge, but
right. And I also think that I want to value myself as an artist. So my work is worth what I'm putting it on for. So if you feel that you are having to always do coupon codes to get sellers in, I think it's also an idea maybe you've priced your work too high, or that if they're only ever buying from that lower price, then maybe they need to be at that lower price, right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
And through doing coupon codes and that is how I've got to my prices as well. We talked about that earlier, but in some ways I noticed that people were buying a little bit more when they were on sale at a certain price. So I've kind of devised my pricing now arranged around that, so I won't have to do so many sales.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. That's a good way to do market research, I guess.
Yes. through mistakes and learning, we all learn how to do it better.
We call it market research when we make mistakes and figure out what we were doing wrong.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Now, do you do any crossover advertising? Like if you have a coupon code going on in your Etsy shop, will you talk about that on your blog, or you just leave it on the shop for people who come into the shop to find?
No, I post it everywhere, but on my blog, not so much, because my blog is, I'm keeping it kind of the storytelling about my disability and my art.
But you will do on Facebook or...
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay.
I'm all about share this as many times. Please go here. It ends then. And I remind people, and I have done in the past where I have paid for Facebook advertising to, do an advertisement of the coupon as well. But I definitely share it as best I can. I tell everyone on my personal pages, people who walk past my house, Because I do find that it is about not everybody just goes straight to Etsy and finds me. I mean, I think most of the people right now are finding me through my social media. They go find my Etsy store.
Yeah.
So I list it everywhere, and I'm trying to get more people from different areas of walks of life into my Etsy store. So I think the coupon codes are really amazing to be able to share that. You can share it so easily is what I'm trying to say.
Did you? Sorry, go on.
Yep. No, that's fine.
You mentioned you did Facebook ads for coupon codes. How did that work out? Do you think it was worth it? And would you advise someone else who's listening and trying to maybe gain momentum for a promotion they're doing to attempt that?
I think that it would work maybe if you already have a good base for your Etsy store. It worked for me, not in a huge way. So I wouldn't advise it for the person who's just literally opened their Etsy store and thinks that a Facebook advert will be very successful, because Facebook advertising, as far as I'm concerned, you need to put money into it to be able to reach as many people. So if you can't do $5 a day, which I could not do, I found that you really can't reach that many people.
Okay.
But it was, I tried it to see what would happen. So through learning it, I definitely discovered that it wasn't as worth it to me, unless I could save up some money and do it that way.
Okay. Well, that's helpful to know. Now, Emily, you also sell on Society 6. I'm so sorry. Our conversation is like almost an hour, but I want to make sure we talk about this because Society 6 is another good outlet for creators to sell their artwork or things that they create themselves. Now, how much time and effort does it take for you to run your shop on Society 6 or to sell your products there? Is it just more of a natural extension of what you're already doing on Etsy? And before you answer that, anyone who wants to check out Emily's shop or listings on Society 6, she's also there under Emily Dolenz Photography. I will have a link to that as well. But if you want to just type it in, it's society6.com/EDolenz. Okay, Emily.
No, it's a natural extension. I wanted to, I wanted to reach out to more interior design people, and have my photographs in homes and for interior designers. So, Society 6 is extremely easy. You upload your image and they do the rest. I have bought the products from them as my test samples. I'm extremely pleased with the quality of their product. But as an artist, I upload a photograph and I list it just as you would like a title and a description. And they ship it out. They make it and ship it out. And you get a percentage of the sale because they are doing the main part of the work.
Okay.
So it's a side part of my my whole business, I guess, because you're not getting a huge amount of revenue from it, but I really enjoy making shower curtains and pillowcases, handbags and all of that. It's very fun.
And that was going to be my next question is, do you get to pick what products your artwork goes on, or do you just upload it and Society 6 can decide if they want it to be on an iPhone case or a comforter or a pouch or something?
You get to pick everything, and you get picked based off your shape of your photograph or your piece of art and the dimensions. So you do need to change the dimensions of your artwork to fit certain products. So for example, if I have a literal square piece of art, it's not going to necessarily look good on a rectangle piece of product.
Yeah.
But you get to click it all, and you get to click which product you want to sell for each piece you are uploading.
Okay.
So it is extremely easy to use. It's extremely diverse in the types of types of products. So if you only wanted to do iPhone cases, you could do only iPhone cases.
Okay. And then how about pricing? Does Society 6 give you a pricing guide, or do you have free reign to charge whatever you want to?
No, for the art prints, they let you put those prices in, but for most of the products, they set the price because they're so for instance, all shower curtains are X amount of dollars. So it is, again, it's not too, there's not too much wiggle room as an artist to make money in different ways for that. But like I said, for me, it's just another extension of my art. So I'm not using it as the sole purpose. I prefer Etsy definitely for most of the pricing and the flexibility and the customization of everything. And Society 6 offers me the ability to sell my products. And that's quite not stagnant in a bad way, but just it is what it is. It is where I sell my products. They're fantastic products. But there isn't too much wiggle room for an artist to kind of be a bit more customization.
Okay. But still, would you say at the end of the day, it's worth it to at least just have that extra platform to sell your products on?
I would. I mean, I think it's fantastic if it works for your 2D art, because again, it's not selling your art, it's selling it at the image of your art onto.
Okay.
So you have to have high resolution photographs of the art. If you're doing photographs, that's great. But if you are a painter, you would need a high resolution photograph of your painting for Society 6 to work. But like I said, I think it's fantastic. I love it. So I think if it works with the type of art you're creating, absolutely add it to your big wheel of business, I guess.
Okay. All right. Okay. I want to ask you a couple of closing questions just to wrap this up. First of all, are there any tools that you're currently using and finding very helpful that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
For my Etsy store or just in general?
For your Etsy store.
For my Etsy store, the coupon code and the shop updates. So the the coupon codes we spoke about, that's great. Tagging everything is great. I'm learning a little bit more about that. But the other thing is this shop update on the app. I believe you only can do it on the app.
Yes.
But it's starting that conversation of, here I am, I'm taking a photograph of me working on my next piece. It allows you to tag in that photograph one of the products in your store. So for instance, if I am working on one of my dry erase boards, I can tag it in the store and say, hi everybody who's following, because the shop updates go to people who are following your store. So, hi, you're following my store. I'm working on my next, my art piece that somebody just bought from me. Check it out here, and it goes out to everybody. Again, just getting to those followers on a regular basis has really helped me, and I think that's a really good tool that Etsy brought out onto the app. And especially those apps. The selling app is amazing. I love the sellers app. It just tells you everything as you're going. It makes a cool little ching sound if you make a sale.
Yes, that's the best. Now, I know with the updates, at least when Etsy first released that tool, they were giving weight to listings that you tagged when you did the updates. I don't know if they're doing that as much or at all still, but I know in the beginning it was an incentive to use the updates tool. But even if they aren't, it's still a really good way to give like a behind the scenes view of what you're doing, and just to engage people who have favorited your shop or products. An inside view as to what you do and your processes and all that. So
and I think that's one of the things I've learned through social media, but also the Etsy thing, is people want to know why you're the art. They want to know you. And art tends to sell better in 2017, I think, if people know the artist, because we don't have too much disposable income. And so I'd rather spend $25-$50 on an artist that I got to know than someone I don't know. So I think the Etsy app and the shop updates helps you do that. And yes, you are right. They do. You can tag. You have to, I think, tag a product from your store in the updates.
Yes.
So you're directly linking that, which is great because they're going straight to the products. But yeah, I think it's about getting to know you as the artist. I think that's a great tool, and that should be also some of the focus as a new person on Etsy would be, how do I get my customers to know who I am?
Yeah. So now, Emily, we're going to wrap up with your Etsy shop shout out. Do you have one, and who is it, and what's the Etsy shop?
Oh, okay, yes. My aunt is Gemma Dolenz. Her shop is Dolenz Delights. And she makes wonderful handcrafted little boxes, jewelry boxes. She handcrafts them, she paints on them. It's decoupage, collage. But she has a little store, called Dolenz Delights, and you should go there and check it out.
Very good. I will link to that shop, Dolenz Delights, so you can go check it out. Say hi to Gemma. Let her know that Emily sent you. Very soon on Etsy, you guys are going to brand the Dolenz name.
I hope so. That's where I'm trying to go.
Oh, very good. Now, Emily, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get in touch?
The best way would be through my Facebook, which is the Emily Dolenz Photography, and on Facebook, because I'm on there constantly, and you can private message me. It's all open. I don't have any, restrictions on it. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm and private message me on Twitter.
Okay.
They're the two things that would be the best way.
Okay. So I will link to Emily's Facebook page as well as her Twitter account. Also her Society 6 store. So you can, is it considered a store or just listings on Society 6?
I call it a store.
Okay.
I don't know what they would do, but I call it my store.
Okay, so I'll link to that as well as her website, her blog. And again, if you want to just hop over there right now and check it out, it's edolenz.wordpress.com. I will link to that as well. Emily, thank you so much. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for being so open. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey. I'm excited for you that you're taking on this new venture of growing a business. And if you don't mind, I would like to talk to you again. Maybe, I don't want to say a year so that you think I don't want to talk to you for another year. But as things evolve and change and you grow, would you mind coming back to share more with us just about the journey that you're on and how things are going?
No, I would absolutely love that. And that's one of my main goals as an artist on Etsy, is just to help inspire other people that you can work it, so you can quit, you can leave your day job and start being whatever, do whatever you want to get done in life. So if I can continue to do that by talking again another 6 months and inspire somebody else to do it, I'd love to.
Okay, great. So I would love to have you on, and I look forward to part 2.
Excellent. Look forward to it too.
All right. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to these conversations. And I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.